From the man who served as a top advisor during the final months of the campaign and the first 7 months of the Trump administration. That's after Bannon accused members of the Trump campaign of treason. A source close to Bannon confirms to Fox News he made the comments in a new book. The British newspaper The Guardian first reported on this. Bannon was referring to the Trump Tower meeting with a Russian lawyer. He also called the threat from the Russia investigation a Category 5 hurricane for the Trump administration. That Trump Tower meeting happened in June of 2016. In attendance, Donald Trump Jr., then campaign chairman Paul Manafort, and the president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. Trump Jr. admitted a middleman had promised dirt from the Russians on Hillary Clinton. He later said the Russian lawyer had no meaningful information. President Trump has denied any collusion with Russia. The White House has said the president didn't know about the Trump Tower meeting. Steve Bannon says there's zero chance that's true, according to the book. This afternoon, the president released a statement responding to Bannon's comments, and here it is in full, quoting, "Steve Bannon has nothing to do with me or my presidency. When he was fired, he not only lost his job, he lost his mind. Steve was a staffer who worked for me after I had already won the nomination by defeating 17 candidates, often described as the most talented field ever assembled in the Republican Party. Now that he's on his own, Steve is learning that winning isn't as easy as I make it look. Steve had very little to do with our historic victory, which was delivered by the forgotten men and women of this country. Yet Steve had everything to do with the loss of the Senate seat in Alabama, held for more than 30 years by Republicans. Steve does not represent my base. He's only in it for himself. Steve pretends to be at war with the media, which he calls the opposition party, yet he spent his time at the White House leaking false information to the media to make himself seem far more important than he was. It is the only thing he does well. Steve was rarely in a one-on-one meeting with me and only pretends to have had influence to fool a few people with no access and no clue whom he helped write phony books. We have many great Republican members of Congress and candidates who are very supportive of the Make America Great Again agenda. Like me, they love the United States of America and are helping to finally take back our country and build it up rather than simply seeking to burn it all down. White House correspondent Kevin Corke is live in the briefing room with more on this. Kevin.
Listen, what a great job by you breaking that down for the folks at home. Better you than me. Obviously, a lot to read there. But listen, what is essentially happening here, Trace, is I think it's fair to say the president is trying to take a decidedly different view of a man that obviously helped to shape and certainly helped to frame the Trump political insurgency. But that lengthy statement is doing everything the president can possibly do to distance himself from Mr. Bannon. There's also another White House statement I want to share with the folks at home. This one coming from Press Secretary Sarah Sanders, who will obviously be out here for the briefing in about 12 minutes or so. She writes, "This book is filled with false and misleading accounts from individuals who have no access or influence with the White House." She continues by saying, "Participating in a book that can only be described as trashy tabloid fiction exposes their sad, desperate attempts at relevancy." Now, you may recall, shortly after his firing, Bannon told the Weekly Standard that the Trump presidency that we fought for and won is over. Bannon there obviously suggesting that the Trump White House simply wasn't going far enough to reach its potential to reshape conservative American politics. The president, on the other hand, tried to distance himself from Mr. Bannon just before his departure. He said, listen, the guy came onto the campaign after I'd already knocked out 17 competitors in the primaries, and when he left on the 19th, the president tried to strike a balanced tone. He said, listen, I want to thank Steve Bannon for his service. He came to the campaign during my run against crooked Hillary Clinton. It was great. Thanks. S. So I guess you could look at it this way. Bannon helped. He was a friend. Until he wasn't, and apparently now he is crazy. Trace?
And Kevin, we're going to get back to Steve Bannon in a moment, but first, the president also issued a new threat to North Korea.